Or like the co-host, if you will. The lovely Samantha Blair. What's up?
Yay.
Good morning.
Hey, good morning. Good morning.
Welcome them back. We haven't seen him in a while, Mr. Joshua Bergman.
Hello, people.
And from ABC 13, Mr. Antonio
Arellano.
Arellano.
Yeah. Good morning, everybody. Here you go.
Hey.
Little Latin flavor for you guys.
Yeah, so here we are, back at it again. Talking all things 45. I mean, this is just, it feels like it's already been 4 years.
Right. 50 day. Today we're at the 50-day mark.
50-day mark. We're halfway in. And so what do you think?
Halfway into what?
To the first
The first 100
days.
days. We still got 4 long years.
Yeah.
Well, 3 years. What is it?
We're not going to do this, Josh, 3 years.
I'm just saying you got to count down.
I
It's
still think he'll be gone by the summer. But he's been awful quiet this week.
To some
He
extent.
was quiet.
Yeah.
Oh, I know why he was quiet.
after his weekend.
Yeah, after last weekend with the Obama tapping my tower and my phone tweet, and he has no solid evidence. No proof.
Right.
First of all, I need somebody to give 45 a copy of the Constitution for his
Okay.
birthday.
Okay.
So when does he ever have substantiated evidence against anything? Like he is still saying, he's still talking about these votes or these illegal votes, right? But we have still yet
Bruh, you
to
won.
talk about like the
For real.
Russian tampering. We have yet to talk about that.
And I think that's why he continues to tweet these outrageous things, because he wants to distract everybody from keeping their eye on Russia. And the more things keep coming out, the closer. I mean, the dots are all there. We just need to connect them. And I mean, and his campaign and this administration literally is 1 degree away from Russia. And my outrage is that there's not enough outrage coming from our people in Congress and in the Senate about this. If you care about this country the way that you claim that you do, okay, then why all of this silence on Russia? The number one adversary who has been trying to damage our sovereignty and the democracy and what this country was founded upon. They are in it. I'm beginning to believe that we are just a colony of Russia, because Russia is deep in our stuff now. Look at Rex Tillerson. Look at 45's budget.
Yeah.
And when in his budget he was going to cut the State Department. When I read that, I was like, how are you going to cut the State Department? That has to do with our defense, our intelligence, like everything. The State Department is these nonpartisan folks who have been there for 30, 40 years throughout all of the presidents, making sure that things around the world are copacetic and if we need to be involved or if we do not need to be involved. And so now Tillerson they've got rid of all of these folks in the State Department. They've cut it by 37%.
I mean, Tillerson, this is not the first we've heard of Tillerson. Tillerson was the main person who was advocating against the sanctions in Russia in 2014 with the Crimea incident, essentially. And so it's not like we didn't know that Tillerson was essentially, I guess you would say, the mole or whatever we want to call him. We knew this. And so I think that we should have raised this awareness about this relationship way, way, way long ago. You know,
Early, during the debates when Hillary brought it up.
Exactly. We're so behind. Like once he decided, Tillerson's going to be a great Secretary of State, we should have gone back and saw what is Tillerson doing,
Well, whom I've heard that he had only met him for the first time when he got sworn in. He didn't even know the man before he appointed him to this cabinet position.
And this is what he calls cleaning the swamps, right?
But I don't
cleaning the swamp means appointing people that you have no idea what they do. We can't even begin to get started on the cabinet. We'll be here all night.
But I don't think him cutting the State Department has anything to do with Rex Tillerson or Russia, or I think it's just basically him doing exactly what he said he was going to do. Like if you look at the agenda basically that Steve Bannon laid out, who is essentially like running the country, he said he was going to destroy the administrative arm of Washington, the way it works, and cutting the State Department would be exactly doing that. I mean, at the end of the day, the relationship between the White House and Russia is murky, but them and like his budget, he's doing exactly what he said he was going to do. I think that we should like pay attention to it too, because like you said earlier, like everything that he's doing is all of these tweets about Obama and stuff, which I actually believe. The wiretap thing, I actually believe that.
You believe that Barack Obama?
I don't
Do you
believe
really
no, I
believe
don't
it?
believe Barack Obama. I believe now. I like receipts, and I like I think that Donald Trump needs to show them. But I think that the thing with him is that he misunderstands it. Him saying this about Obama shows how much he misunderstands the way government works. Because if there were wiretaps against him, and it was during the election, it was probably because they were investigating what was going on with Russia. People were saying, the White House isn't being tough enough on it, but they're not going to say everything that they're doing. So if the Justice Department was wiretapping him, in his head, it's Obama's Justice Department.
If I may go ahead and step in here, I think it's very, very important that we acknowledge the fact that these are all allegations that have not been confirmed whatsoever.
Yeah,
President
alleged.
Obama, that's all alleged.
Yeah.
And the thing is that when
He couldn't do it if he wanted to.
When Donald,
couldn't.
that's right,
He
that's
couldn't.
right. When President Donald goes out on social media and makes these outrageous claims, right? He's making them as fact, right, without any type of backing. Today on the press conference in the White House, they were pressing Sean
Spicer.
about why is there no evidence, right? Where's the evidence for this, right? And he's saying, well, let's not get ahead of ourselves, so let's not jump to hypotheticals. Excuse me, the president of the United States just got ahead of himself,
accused
that's
and
what
another
that's what he
president
on a
does.
hypothetical.
committing a
But that's what he
felony.
does.
I mean, but
Exactly.
that's the
He
theme
does,
for
though.
this administration. There's no backup for anything, and
Right.
we still don't have those tax returns.
But
So,
it's-
I mean, how can we expect
And
from a
that's
But
president?
you tell the whole story.
His base doesn't care. That's the thing. That's why he's able to do this. He has realized that he can go out and tell these flat out
Just like when he
lies.
said on the campaign, I can go out on the
Yeah.
street and shoot somebody, and
Yeah.
I'd still get the vote.
Yeah,
You know what?
that he said it. Called
Yeah.
them stupid,
Yeah.
and they still voted for him. A long time ago, he said, if I run for president, it'd be as a Republican.
Grabbing them by the-
because-
The Republican and conservative voter that voted for Donald Trump, that voted for him because they were suffering economically or because they were losing their wages or getting their pay cut. And now they are also struggling with their health care insurance. Now they're about to see what a Trump administration is going to do for them. And I want to see if he's going to be able to follow through and satisfy that base.
No.
Because it's going to be important.
Absolutely
It's going to be a key to him to be reelected in 4 years. If that's how long we're going with this, right?
He's already
So,
dissatisfying that base.
and
really,
there's,
do you think so?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, can we not talk about Obamacare Light, aka Trump Care, aka
But his
you
base,
know.
his base, is he really dissatisfying them?
I don't
The
think so. I
people-
think that they're very
Yeah,
pleased with the
They are
administration.
very. If you go on any news station and they talk to these people in Ohio and
Mm-hmm.
all of these places that got him elected, that were crucial in getting him elected. Some people who used to be Obama voters, and they are ecstatic.
Right, and if
with
we're looking
what
at the
he's doing.
statistics right now, the Democratic Party as a whole is rated lower than Donald Trump. They're rated lower than Mike Pence. They're rated lower than the whole GOP put together. The Democratic Party has a huge problem. If it wants to maintain its power, and if it wants to be a credible source and a reliable and a reliable main party in the United States in the next 4 years, it's got a big change to do.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be within the leadership that they currently have. I'm sorry, it's not going to happen. They need fundamental change from the ground up, all the way.
But that's why he continues to make these outlandish statements, because he knows that he knows that Democrats are weak right now, and his base is going to, continue to give him what he needs. In the midterms that's coming up, Democrats don't do good in local elections.
That's
So,
right.
mean,
And then the other
where my faith is, where that tide may turn in 18,
Where's that?
is the women's march and the women's movement right now.
I mean,
I think women have, for years, for decades, shown that they are the spirit of this country, and they lead us, and they give us their wisdom and show us and point us in the right direction time and time again. And I think it's very, very fundamental that we continue to see the action and support our women whenever they're speaking out because of their issues. We need to make sure that we are allies to our African-American minority women as well as our white women. But we need to make sure that the messaging is clear and concise. And right now, the messaging is being so spread out because I feel like so many minority groups are lit, like they're at 100, right? Like they're all going as much as they can and producing as much as they can because everybody seems like they feel like they're under attack. And it's important that we have a concise messaging if that's what they want to do and going forward. Now, it's also important that we hold the administration accountable. For example, with the counsel to the president,
Steve Bannon.
Conway.
Kellyanne
Right,
Conway.
Kellyanne Conway, and the promotional advertisement commercial that she gave on Fox and Friends for Ivanka Trump. There's no accountability. Right now, the ethics committee is following through and saying, why is there no accountability? You are and you're jeopardizing the entire political process by saying we're not going to do anything about this.
I mean, but this is a president who didn't attend his ethics committee hearing. Like, he didn't attend the ethics training at all. He absolutely canceled it and said, no, we don't need that. Come on, every president we've ever had has had to attend the ethics training because it's where you learn the fundamental things you need to know about being a president,
Right.
so that you don't make crazy allegations or you
But
don't
that's
begin
because
to
he never
do
wanted to
crazy
be
things.
president.
Donald
That's
Trump
right.
is unethical. Like, why would he need to attend? And I'm sorry, but just speaking on women and minorities, I just have to give her a plug. Melania Trump's her approval rating today was like 52%. I'm, privately like rooting for her just because I think she's like screaming to get the heck out of whatever she's in with that guy.
No, I think Melania knew exactly what she was getting herself into, and she continues to know that because she continues to back the things that he says. And of course, as a first lady, she can't really go out and be like, "Oh, I don't support my husband." But Melania kind of dug this hole for herself, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't really feel sorry for Melania.
Is it a hole? It's a pretty nice looking hole from where
I
I'm
mean,
It's a gold
Yeah,
penthouse suite. Oh.
that we're all paying for.
Yeah,
that we're
There
all
are,
very much paying for
protection,
because his security is costing our taxpayers how
Yes.
many millions of dollars a day? I
Mhm.
mean, we're trying to dig ourselves out of a deficit so that he can continue to go on vacations to Florida on the weekends when he feels that he's tired.
Right.
And not only that, I mean, with the family needing protection from the Secret Service and all of the staff when they travel,
Mhm.
I have a huge problem when the sons fly over to Dubai to
Do business.
close a deal,
Mhm.
Yeah.
and
It's an American tax
we
money.
are paying for them to go over there to make
Right.
them
Right.
more money. I have a huge problem with that.
I've always said you have to follow the money in this administration because that's going to lead you to what really is happening here. The Trump administration has seen an increase in projects that they're preparing to launch, and buildings that they're preparing to open, and hotels that they're preparing to administrate. This has happened after November 8th, a massive amount of them. Nobody's talking about that, but that's a big problem, and it comes back to you cannot profit from being the president of the United States, point blank, period.
But
That's
that's
what
what just makes everything about his presidency so murky. Like Russia, him still being affiliated with his.
I
his
don't see him
business
legitimate.
ties.
I'm with Maxine Waters. Like he's not.
You don't
he's
see
not
him as a legitimate.
I
love
do not.
Maxine.
I do
Shout out to
not.
Maxine.
So where
I
does
do
that?
not.
Where does that? Because I mean, you saying that's a big deal. Like it
It's
really
a
is.
Statement.
Yeah.
So like, where does that put us? Like we've never been in a position like this as a country, like ever before. And so for you to say like you feel like he's illegitimate, and you're not the only one that's saying. You
Yeah.
have very, very prominent people
I mean,
saying
the
that.
Russian connection.
Yeah, I mean,
The
it's
Russian
tampering.
connection. Point blank and the period. I have been on this ever since when it first came about. Like it was a thought that they might think that Russia might have something to do with it. But way like last summer.
Right.
Late spring, early summer, like whenever right before that, was it maybe, it might have been the second debate, probably like right before the second presidential debate, it was in the summer. When the word came down that Russia may be involved,
I think we should
I
have been
was like,
concerned once
oh,
we were
okay.
able to.
And he himself, 45 himself, invited
Yeah.
the Russians
Yeah.
to hack Hillary Clinton about these emails.
That's what's so nuts about it. Like
mean-
it's so clear. Like everything.
Everything is
just-
on
it's there.
video.
and it's like everyone is just saying, well, it's not a big deal. Like it's it's they didn't do anything wrong.
Please, they're lying
they just
everywhere.
released emails.
Jeff
They just-
Sessions.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Lying. And everybody's looking at Jeff Sessions still. No, we need to be paying close attention to Paul
it's
Manafort.
scary.
That's who we need to be looking at.
Steve Bannon.
Steve
Bannon.
Bannon too. But Paul Manafort, what's the other guy's name?
I mean, we've got Rex, we've got Bannon,
What do you
we've
think?
got Sessions, we've got.
I think it's usually always the guys that you don't know, like
It's
Steve
always
Bannon
the
and
guys
Paul
that you don't
Manafort.
know.
The guys who stay under the radar are usually like the ones that you really have to watch out for.
Yeah. Well, he has now. There's a new immigration ban. They've gone back and redone a couple of things: the immigration ban and the Affordable Care Act, which they're calling it something else.
Trump care.
Is it
So
really called
this new immigration ban, any better?
No, I mean it's never going to be better. In fact, it affects Americans in some of the craziest ways. Like, take for example, I was reading an article today about how a good number of our medical healthcare professionals are actually immigrants, and this is how they make their living, or whatever the case may be. And so we're going to see, in a time where we already have doctor shortage, is that these people are going to visit their families and they're not able to come back. And although they're saying in this administration that if you have your papers and you have your visas, you're always welcome to be here, but that's not what we're seeing when these people reach the airport. They're coming to the airport and being told, oh no, you're going to be detained and sent back for 120 days or 90 days or whatever the case may be. Again, it doesn't make any sense, because when you go back to to Rex Tillerson, to that argument, for example, he's done dealings with Syria, Iran, Sudan, Saudi Arabia, Qatar. And Saudi Arabia, when we have had terrorist attacks, Saudi Arabia has been the leading source of where those terrorist attacks come from, and yet we're still not seeing the banning of the countries where the actual terrorist attacks are coming from.
Right.
So to hear the president continue to say something, it's so hyperbole, really, that I'm protecting you guys from these terrorist attacks. What terrorist attacks?
Exactly. And
Like, where's this coming
And all of the
from?
people, and the evidence shows that people who come over here from other countries, or if they're kids or whatnot, they don't get radicalized until they're in here. Until they're here in the United States. That's when they get radicalized.
How do you push back the argument, though, that these countries were put on the list was created by the Obama administration? Like, how do you push back against that?
I've seen that, actually, and we're all aware of that, but the issue is that he continues to enforce this on a way of saying, I'm protecting you guys from terrorism. And for them to be, a lot of the countries fundamentally are Muslim.
Yeah.
And so it's very
And they don't have
hard.
a central banking system. That's why I think that they are, because none of those countries that are on the mend, they don't have a central banking system. So
Now that's
again, it's back to the money. So you got
That's
to.
something people aren't talking about, though.
Yeah.
That's another one of
You
those
gotta follow
things
the
that
money.
you do not hear
And then
about.
another thing that makes this a joke for me is like, oh, we may take Iraq off of the list. You may. So what that says to me is that you don't take this serious at all. This is just something that is trivial, or something that you're doing to satisfy, whatever base, your base, the Tea Party, whoever. Like, this is.
And what's
it is-
upsetting about that is that you
it's
have
categorically
longtime
asinine.
generals telling him, don't take these. Like Iraq is a country we've built a relationship with. Like, we went in,
We
we
still
tore
have
that country
soldiers
down
over
and
there.
pretty much rebuilt it. So, like, why would you put that country on a ban list?
I mean, he's still making very childish decisions that are leading to bad things that I think eventually we will need this, to have these in place, because he keeps going and doing things that are going to make us enemies of other countries. Like the raid in Yemen, that was so completely pointless. Like, he went in, he didn't even pay attention to what was going on in Yemen. Like, if you are the if you're the person that's calling on this raid or whatever's going on, you should be clued in, you should be completely on top of whatever is going on, you should be 2 or 3 steps ahead. But instead, we see the death of a Navy SEAL, we see the death of an 8-year-old little girl who was an American, and we see the death
he
of
exploits
civilians.
his wife at the
At the
that
convention
thing
rally? Are you
Tuesday,
saying with the
with Congress. Like, she's just sitting up there like a product placement, and this woman just lost her husband off a terrible decision that you made over dinner with your
Absolutely.
son-in-law.
A lot of these are unconstitutional executive orders. Prejudice is prejudice, however you write it. It doesn't matter how many times you go back and rewrite the whole Muslim ban. The only way to get rid of a Muslim ban, or to not have a discriminatory ban, is to not have a Muslim ban at all, period. Mm-hmm. For him to hide behind fear-mongering and say that he's doing it out of the concern of safety of the American people, it's completely ridiculous, because we have American citizens that are Muslims that are being profiled at American airports.
Yeah.
They're Muslim Americans. And they
Muhammad
are
Ali's
they're
son.
being stopped at
Absolutely.
their own
Wow.
airport.
Absolutely.
I mean, it is what it is, and you cannot hide behind your fear mongering and saying that you're trying to protect your people when your people are being detained because of an executive order that you imposed on them.
Absolutely. And I think it's just the fact of having to be afraid of your own country. Like, if you are a citizen of this country, if you're a visa citizen of this country, whatever the case may be, to be told that you are illegal. How can a person be illegal?
No human being is
No
illegal.
human being is illegal. And so it's really saddening. It's very saddening to continue to see that the ACLU is going into these airports and doing the best that they can to try to show these people that they do have their rights. And the fact that you have states that are actually suing the president, states are suing the president.
You know, speaking of ACLU that you just mentioned, they actually just last night they said they're preparing to sue. They already filed a lawsuit against Jeff Sessions for lying on the record.
Russia the third time, because we can see for the third time that you're meeting with a general in Russia or whatever the case may be, or he met with them in Washington D.C. last year, and he still got there and he lied. Like, how do you lie about something that there's pictures of?
And it was information that he voluntarily invited. Like, he put that out there. Like, that wasn't even the question that Senator Al Franken had asked him. Like, he volunteered that piece of information and lied himself. So, and even if you look, I don't know if you if you go back and you look at his face after he said that, like the look of and
like, who's he trying to convince, himself or
was
us?
Like, whoa, you know what I'm saying? It's like, so Samantha, how was your weekend? And then you say, oh well, I didn't take a handful of Skittles out of the bowl out at that candy store.
Yeah. Like, what?
Why volunteer information about yourself
and
just
that's exactly
to incriminate yourself? And I almost want
to
to say that, like, maybe they're setting us up for something, because who does that foolishly? Who just does that? Like, how?
They have lied. They have lied so many times. I've lost count. But you know, everybody, please stay woke. Don't fall for they're throwing the stick over there while they're doing something else over here. Don't fall for it. Stay focused. Stay focused on Russia. This Russia thing is the biggest thing ever. The Russia thing and his so-called accusation about President Obama wiretapping his phone. This is huge, and I am just outraged that there isn't enough outrage about that.
There's so many things to be outraged about, and I think that this is kind of what benefited him in the primaries whenever he became the candidate and then took the presidency, because there were so many headlines. There were so many breaking news every single day, sometimes multiple times a day, that it was difficult to cover that in depth and follow to get to the real answer and the core of the problem. Like, for instance, this. Jeff Sessions just was speaking with Russians during the campaign process. We can't get into that conversation any further because the president has accused the former president of wiretapping him. And then we have another thing, and then we have another. So, like, there's no way to stay focused on one issue, but because the administration keeps developing so many breaking news, so many headlines that are, it's hard to get to the core. And then when that happens, the journalistic perspective of this is that when that happens, it gets oversaturated. It's very difficult to do the investigative research on this topic when there's another topic that needs your attention, and there's another topic that needs your attention, and it gets so spread out that the consumer doesn't even know what the hell's going on.
And I think that's why I read that a lot of news organizations were beefing up their investigative departments.
You know,
Trump has been good for journalism.
A lot of mainstream organizations are saying that they are considering taking out their press pool, the people that are in the White House and they sit and talk to. They want to pull them out and send interns to cover Sean Spicer, because Sean Spicer's coming out and lying to the press on a daily basis. So these extremely intelligent reporters need to go back and they need to start doing investigative reporting.
I completely
on every
agree
case.
with that, because this administration has been the most disrespectful administration ever when it comes to the media. I mean, you know, recently they just said that when
I don't know, Nixon was pretty bad too.
Tillerson goes to when he goes on his next overseas trip, that there will be no press going with him. Like, that's crazy.
Now, today they said that they were going to be flying on a separate plane because of budgeting. How does that make sense? Pause.
Why?
You're telling me that the media can't fly in your plane, and because of budgeting, you're going to get another plane for the media. Like, I'm sorry. So are you budgeting or are you not budgeting?
What has really made sense in this administration in terms of budgeting at all, or anything in that for that matter? Like, I feel like they're working to desensitize us. Like, they're really taking people and they're like, we're just going to inundate you with so much news and so much stuff and so much going on that you guys won't even care after a while, because you're going to get tired of trying to follow
so
this.
much. He wants to be a dictator himself, and
But he can't raise sanctions on Russia.
Right.
He cannot raise sanctions
And
on
if you
Russia.
really
We
look
haven't had a
back-
relationship with them since the Cold War, and that didn't go so well. So, I mean, you can tell me all day that you guys are shaking hands and that you guys are cool, but I would never turn my back on
It
my
all started
enemy.
at the convention.
That's right.
It all started at the convention when the Republicans have their little guideline of the things that they
Gotta
want,
say their points.
and
Yeah.
their
Agenda.
their points, all
Yeah.
right, and their agenda, right. So the one thing, the only thing in that entire list that the Trump administration did not agree on and take off was Russia's ability to go into Ukraine.
Oh, well, wouldn't
That
it be
had-
great if we were friends
that
with
had to
Russia?
they had to take
Right.
that off.
So what do you?
You know what? That is our time, guys. We have
sorry.
yeah, I know, right?
I have like
a quick
6 more
24.
things.
It's a quick 24.
That's cool.
Samantha, Joshua, Antonio, thank you all so much
Thank
for being
you
a
so
part of the
much.
roundtable.
Thank
You know we're
you.
going to do it again.
Stay informed, people.
Yes, and
woke.
stay woke. Okay, and
Stay
thank you for
woke.
listening to Access Houston.
And that is a wrap.
Sounds good,
Thank
everybody.
you. Bye, everybody. Spirit fingers.
I need to run downstairs.
All right, guys. So I know y'all probably been listening to me, but haven't been hearing me. So I'm gonna come over here and talk to you guys a
Yeah,
little bit.
don't
Hey,
worry.
guys. So we're
No, you talk.
reunited.
We
the
are
trio, and it
reunited.
feels good.
I miss
So,
you so much.
we're gonna have to reshare this later. But if you guys need any more information about what's going on, make sure that you log on to your reliable sources. I'm not even gonna
Yes.
plug, but just your reliable sources, whatever you trust. Make sure that you are staying informed because on a day-to-day basis, there's so much information that's being disseminated, and you need to make sure that you're alert at all times. Samantha?
Stay in. Just, even if you don't know what's really going on, I know a lot of people are not into politics. And a lot of people tell me that they're not into politics. But whatever you do, stay informed because these things affect you too. And you absolutely all day, whatever. Don't forget to vote.
Let me tell you something. In
2018,
That's
November
right.
2018,
It's
if
coming.
you guys do not get out there and vote, whatever happens at this point, that is your fault too.
Pasadena
You
is
take the
having
blame.
mayoral elections. Pasadena
Yes.
has a huge Hispanic population and a minority population. Make sure that you guys are informed. Make sure you follow the candidates. Find out what's going on. What are their positions? And go out to their rallies. Find out what they're really about. Get to know them, especially with local officials. They have the biggest impact on your personal life. So make sure that you're doing that. Josh.
Hey, you guys said it all. Just stay woke and informed.